What's up guys, Meowth here. Today's video is going to be a very quick and dirty card review of all the cards revealed from Blizzcon for both the core set and the brand new Hearthstone expansion, Forged in the Barrens. So of course it's just a little bit of the news of everything that we've heard from Blizzcon, and I'll be covering the rest of that in tomorrow's episode with Corbat Games of the State of Wilds. Make sure you guys check that out when it goes live. But please let me know what your favorite cards are out of the ones that have been announced, which ones you're looking forward to the most, which ones you're the most scared about, and let me know what you guys are thinking about these cards. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I know it's a really quick one, but if you guys do, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It does support me a lot. Hope you guys enjoy. So these are the cards from the new expansion, what is it? Forged in the Barrens. So yeah, Mankirk, 3 mana, 3/4, Battlecry Legendary. Help Mankirk find his wife. She was last seen somewhere in your deck. So basically, you play this, it shuffles in a card that when you draw it, summons a 3/10 that hits the face, I believe. I don't know if we see the token anywhere. Yeah, there's no token. I mean, I think this is just like, it's an okay card. I think the question is, do you really want this in your Odd Warrior, not your Odd Warrior, your Odd Hunter or your Odd Rogue decks? Right? Like, that's the thing. Like, it hits face, so you want it in your aggressive odd decks. So you're looking at Odd Rogue, Odd Hunter. You're probably running your Odd Hunter because Odd Hunter sucks and it needs cards. I think Odd Rogue. So now Odd Rogue has Mankirk, it has double Ticketmaster, and it has double Stowaway. So like maybe you can do this like shuffle Odd Rogue style of deck. I could see like a shuffle Odd Rogue being a thing. I could see it like probably being much slower and much worse than like the normal weapon, right? But like it could be a fun take on Odd Rogue for sure. Put it in Shuffle Rogue? Maybe you put it in Shuffle Rogue. Yeah, maybe you probably put it in Shuffle Rogue. Why not? I think you probably could. Vol'jin. So this is the free legendary. This is like the Vargoth or the Kael'thas that we all get just by logging in. 5 mana, 3/6. Battlecry, choose a minion, swap it with a random one in its owner's hand. Yeah, so like I don't really see a place for this outside of like Odd Warrior, which is where we're trying it right now. It's combo disruption, I think, is probably the main goal of this card, right? For decks that don't normally have access to it. So, cough, cough, Odd Warrior. Like, I don't really see where you want this outside of that. I know, like, there's probably some combo, right? You could probably pull Malagos, Mecha'thun, like 9 or 10 drops, and it gives you... But, like, the thing is, like, then you have to have a minion on board, right? So I guess in Mecha'thun Warlock, you play like Cobalt Librarian, Vol'jin, the Cobalt Librarian, and you have to have only one minion in hand, and then you can Cataclysm. So you could play it in Mecha'thun. It sounds really inconsistent in that deck. I don't know. I think this is just like a situational disruption card for the most part. And so I think the only place you're probably going to see this in Wild is like in Odd Warrior, and even then I'm like not 100% on that because like you have to YOLO pull, right? It's like Dirty Rat, and I'm not sure how the interaction works with Bran. All right, Blademaster Samuro, 4 mana, 1/6 rush, Frenzy. Frenzy is the new keyword of the set. So basically, after it survives damage, it does a special effect, right? And so here, this is a 4 mana, 1/6 with rush. If it survives damage, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. Dude, I'm about to become a Handbuff Paladin main. Like, this seems really nuts in Handbuff Paladin. 4 mana, 4/9 with charge. After it survives, Flame Strike your opponent's board. Like, that sounds absolutely busted. I think Blademaster Samuro is absolutely bonkers in Handbuff Paladin. I don't think it sees play anywhere else, but in Handbuff Paladin, it's absolutely bonkers. So I'm excited to mess around with this in that deck. Brew Con Shaman legendary, 4 mana, 5/4. Nature spell damage +3. So nature like the new. So like they have minion types for spells now. So this is only for nature spells. Spell damage +3. We haven't seen very many nature spells. We have one new one that we'll talk about down here. But they are retroactively applying this to a bunch of other spells. So depending on what nature spells are. Like, if Lightning Bolt and Crackle end up being... if those end up being nature spells, this card is broken, right? 4 mana, 5/4 are decent stats, and then you get spell damage +3 for your Crackles and your Maelstrom Portals and your Lightning Bolts. Like, it could be absolutely bonkers. But I think it all depends on what spells retroactively get the nature spell tag, right? So it all depends, and we don't know what those are yet. But I can see this being very, very good. Spirit Healer. So this is a neutral card, 4 mana, 3/6. After you cast a holy spell, give a random friendly minion +2 health. So basically, this is like a Priest and Paladin dual class card, because I'm assuming those are the only two that are going to get holy cards. 4 mana, 3/6. Give a friendly minion. I mean, I just don't think this is very good. Like, I don't even think you run this in Inner Fire Priest. Just doesn't seem worth it to me. So, I mean, I just don't ever see the same play. Like, especially not in Paladin. But in Priest, like, Inner Fire Priest probably doesn't want this. So I don't think it's very good. Maybe Crackle doesn't get it because of Wild. I mean, I don't think Wild is, like, they're retroactively applying it to cards, right? So I don't see why they wouldn't. Alright. Chain Lightning. This is a Nature Shaman spell. Or I guess Shaman Nature spell. I guess that's the way that you have to phrase it. But it's a 2 mana spell that upgrades once you have 5 and 10 mana. So at its baseline, it's like the new Spellstone, basically. But instead of upgrading with effects, it upgrades with mana. So the 2 mana, it deals 2 damage to a minion and a random adjacent one. At 5 mana, it deals 3. And at 10 mana, it becomes 2 mana, deal 4 to a minion. I mean, I just don't think this is necessarily good enough in Wild. Probably could see playing Standard. But like, it just doesn't seem strong enough to me in Wild. Especially since you're not really wanting to get to 10 mana a lot of the times, especially when you're playing Shaman. So I just don't think that's very good. Druid of the Plains. This is a 7 mana 7/6 beast with Rush. Okay, it's a really expensive card, but I mean, it is Druid, right? You do get Overgrowth, so you can Overgrowth into this. Kill a minion, right? Because then you kill the minion, and then the Frenzy will trigger, and it transforms into a 6/7 with Taunt. And then the Taunt comes back with Hadro or New Zoth. You know, I don't hate it. Like, I don't know if it'll be good enough for WoW, but it'll probably be fine in, like, the fringe, like, archetypes of Taunt Druid or Beast Druid or stuff like that. Obviously, those aren't very good right now, so it won't be, like, a super competitive deck, but it's, like, a fine card for those decks, right? I think 7 mana 7/6 with Rush is pretty impactful. I just, like, again, in Druid, right, this is, like, your turn 5, probably. Because hopefully you're, like, hitting Overgrowth on 4 into this on 5. And, like, what are you killing with this, I guess is my question. Like, what are you hitting in Reno Priest, Big Priest, Darkler Warlock? Like, against Darkler Warlock, this is not good enough. So, like, I don't think it's going to be, like, a super competitive card, but I think it's a nice card for, like, the Beast and Taunt Druid archetypes that want more cards like this, right? Sunscale Raptor. This is a 1 mana 1/3 beast. I mean, it's a hunter card, so probably already unplayed. No, I'm just kidding. 1 mana 1/3 Frenzy. Shuffle a Sunscale Raptor into your deck with permanent +2/+1. Wait, what? When I saw this initially, I thought it was +1/+1. Is the +2/+1 actually correct? The issue with this card, it's a 1 mana 1/3, which is good. The problem is Hunter doesn't have good draw, and so you don't want to be shuffling a bunch of 1-drops into your deck. If they unnerf Buzzard, I think this will get a lot better. But if it doesn't, sad. So it's a 1 mana 1/3. If it survives damage in the early game, you get a 3/4 for 1 mana. And then you get a 5/5 for 1 mana. I don't know. I could see it actually being good. So Imp Swarm, 2 mana Fel Warlock spell. Warlock Fel spell. Okay. These spell types are hurting my brain. I don't know how to say them. But yeah, Imp Swarm. It's a 2 mana 3/2 Imp. At 5 mana, it's 2 mana, summon 2 3/2s. And at 10 mana, it is 2 mana, summon 3 3/2s. Just like, it's not good. I'm not going to talk about it. Desperate Prayer. 0 mana Holy Priest spell. Restore 5 health to each hero. You probably aren't running this in any of your decks, unless you're running like the Auctioneer Priest. But like this is probably a fine card to draw into or discover into off of like Renew, right? When you're playing against an aggro deck. But other than that, probably not going to see play. Razormane Raider, 5 mana, 5/6. Frenzy Attacker. This is just not good. I don't like this. I think it's just bad. And then Peon. This is a very flavorful card, right, for the expansion, but it is a 2 mana 2/3 vanilla stats. Frenzy, add a random spell from your class to your hand. Not very good. Don't think it's that good. Yep. All right, we're gonna stop talking about that one. But yeah, so basically my impression about these cards, I like Frenzy. I think Frenzy with Broomstick is broken. Frenzy with Rush is broken. Frenzy without either of those two things, probably not very broken. I do worry about the success of Frenzy in Wild because we don't really have too much minion combat, right? We have a lot less minion combat than we do in Standard. So Frenzy is probably going to be a lot worse in our format than it is going to be in Standard. But cards like Samuro, I'm really excited about. I like playing the off-meta decks, like Druid of the Plains, I'm kind of excited about as well. And then the Shaman Legendary and the Hunter are like intriguing depending on like the other cards that come out or the other cards that they unnerf, right? So those are probably the ones that I'm most excited about. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, some pretty cool looking cards, just 12 cards in, right? And so I'm excited to see what the rest of the expansion brings. All right, so along with the cards that they revealed for Forged in the Barrens, they also talked about a lot of the cards that they're bringing back to the core set, buffing for the core set, and some of the new stuff. So they have confirmed cards like Annoyatron, Tomb Pillager, Tyrion, and Fireball are coming back to the standard set. They also talked about 2 cards that they are bringing back from Wild or bringing back from the classic set and buffing. So they gave the example of Assassinate and Menagerie Warden. So these are 2 cards that are also going to be buffed in Wild, which is kind of cool because that means we get access to 5 mana Menagerie Warden for our Beast Druid decks, which is kind of cool. I like it. 5 mana Menagerie Warden was something that I was wanting the card to be cheaper. Like, you don't really care about the stats being reduced. You care about the effect, and that's all that matters. So yeah, big fan of Menagerie Warden buff. Assassinate, you're probably still not going to play. But if these are signs of cards that they're going to buff and how they're going to buff them from Wild and Classic, I'm excited because we're going to be getting a lot of these changes, and so looking forward to some of the other stuff that they bring. And they also talked about a bunch of new cards that they are introducing. So they are reimagining the dragon aspects as part of the new core set. So we get to keep our old Ysera, our old Malygos, and our old Deathwing. Don't worry, they're not going anywhere. But we also get 3 new versions of those cards. So Ysera the Dreamer, 9 mana, 4/12. Add 1 of each of the dream cards to your hand. I actually think this card is probably straight up like one of the best on face value. Add 1 of each of the dream cards. So they have already talked about and confirmed that they are changing the dream cards and how they work a little bit. For example, you can no longer dream your Ysera for infinite value. Your dream always hits enemy minions now, so it's a 0 mana sap. And they're changing the numbers a little bit on the minions in Ysera Awakens, but yeah, I mean, I think this is just 9 mana, 4/12 immediate value. It's probably going to be good in Standard. It's probably way too slow for Wild, but the course that's not for Wild, right? But we are getting a new Ysera. I like the new Ysera. I'm always down, and it's a ton of value. I love, how I love me some value. The card that I think is probably going to be the most Wild playable out of the 3 dragon aspects is Mali. Malygos the Spellweaver, 9 mana, 4/12. Battlecry, draw spells from your deck until your hand is full. So this is just screaming like some sort of combo potential. Okay, you can manipulate what spells you put in your deck, so you manipulate what spells you draw, right? Which I think is very, very powerful. It's probably too slow for like a dedicated combo deck, right? But like, if you're only running like 5 or 6 spells in your deck, you play 9 mana, 4/12, you draw the super impactful spells. I could see this being amazing. I also think that you could do the Like, yeah, like an LPG mage, you'll always draw LPG, you'll always draw book, you'll always draw your ice block, which I think is possible. I'm just thinking about this in J Druid, right? So if you play J Druid, you play Ysera Awakens, or I think that's the new Ysera, the one that shuffles portals into your deck. Yeah, you shuffle portals into your deck, and then you draw the portals immediately, and you make a huge ass board. I mean, things like that. I think Mali, that's kind of the stuff that you're going to do with Mali. You're going to abuse the spells that you put in your deck and all that kind of good stuff. And then Deathwing the Destroyer, 10 mana 12/12 dragon, destroy all other minions, discard a card for each destroyed. I mean, the old Deathwing was never like constructed playable. I also this Deathwing actually is just like fine if you play it on an empty board, right? Because then you don't discard any cards. I can see this being maybe the top end of like a Control Warrior in Standard. I don't see any place that this sees play in Wild. But yeah, I mean, these are just 3 out of the 5. I think we'll be seeing a new Alexstrasza and a new Nozdormu soon. And just like, you also have to realize that these are all going to be in the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza pool, thanks to Chat. Chat just pointed that out. So yeah, I mean, I think these are all going to be kind of amazing off of Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, right? So yeah, really excited for these guys. I'm really excited to see the other 2 dragon aspects. Yeah, so we also got to see 5 new cards that they're adding to the core set. Novice Zapper, this is a new Shaman card. It's a 1 mana 3/2 with spell damage +1. Sounds kind of broken, and it has Overload 1, but I don't really care about that. This 1-drop seems just kind of bonkers, dude. I think this is just nutty. I'm gonna be excited to play with it. Before you guys talk about Odd Shaman poggers, because spell damage in a 1-drop that's aggressively statted, we do need to talk about Shaman. We need to address how they butchered our boy. They nerfed Odd Shaman before they nerfed Darkglare Warlock, by the way. They are changing the totems that are in the Shaman pool. They are removing the Wrath of Air. They're removing the spell damage totem from the Shaman pool, and they are replacing it with a 0/2 totem that gives another minion +1 attack. So yeah, Odd Shaman dead. But Novice Zapper, I think, is very, very strong and will definitely find a home in like aggressive, like aggro shamans of some sort in our format. All right, so let's talk about Felsoul Jailer. This is a 5 mana 4/6 demon. Battlecry, your opponent discards a minion. So this is like combo disruption in Standard, which is kind of cool. Death Rattle return the minion, so at most it can just be combo disruption and tempo disruption and stuff like that. But also if you treachery, I wonder how this works with treachery. Like if you play 5 mana 4/6, your opponent discards a card, and then you treachery the Felsoul, and then you kill it. Do you get the minion, or does the opponent get the minion? That's how I wonder. But also, like, if you play Felsoul Jailer and then you, like, transform it, evolve it, bounce it to your hand, stuff like that, they don't get the minions back. But anything that's like a 5 mana 4/6 that stops your opponent from playing Reno, or stops your opponent from playing whatever their 6-drop was going to be. I don't think this card's very good in our format because it's a demon, which means Voidcaller. But also that hasn't stopped people from playing Ticketus, so who knows, right? But I'm not super high on this card at all. Okay, so next up is a new legendary that they're adding to the neutral pool for the core set. This is a 5 mana 3/6 with Rush. They're adding Rush to the core set. Whenever this minion attacks, give +1/+1 to all minions in your hand. So for Wild, I don't think you run this in Odd Rogue. I don't think you run this in Odd Paladin. I think you're looking at this in Handbuff Paladin. I know a lot of Handbuff Paladins are still running the Glowstone Technicians, and I think this is just like a straight up better card than Glowstone Technician, and so you probably do run this. So Handbuff Paladin looking like it's getting a couple powerful tools with this and Samuro. Handbuff Paladin's going to be kind of nutty, huh? Moving forward. All right, Vanessa Van Cleef. This is Edwin's daughter, I believe. Please correct me, those of you guys that know WoW lore. 2 mana 2/3 combo. Add a copy of the last card your opponent played to your hand. So this is basically like a better Plagiarize, I feel like, because you can control what turn you're playing this. It's 10 times worse than Eddie Van Cleef. Sad, but I mean, this is just like a Burgo Rogue card, yeah, for Wild. I don't know if it's a very good card for Burgo Rogue, but it's a card for Burgo Rogue. And outside of that, probably not. And then the last new card that we got to see from the core set is Thrive in the Shadows. This is a 2-mana Priest Shadow card. So this is a 2-mana Priest Shadow spell. So Shadow Priest making its return to standard in the core set. Discover a spell from your deck. So this draws it, similar to Cleric of Scales, right? So it's not a copy like Shadow Visions, but this is also another Shadow Visions. Oh, God. So now we get to run 4 copies of Shadow Visions, or 4 effects of Shadow Visions, I should say, in Big Priest, and we get to run 2 of them in Reno Priest. Oh, God. That seems really strong. It seems very, very strong. Priest, like, Thrive in the Shadows, I think, is, out of the 5 that are listed here, this is, like, the staple so far for Wild. You're going to be seeing a lot of Thrive in the Shadows, because Priest is very good. And Priest, I think both of the popular Priest decks wants this card. I think it'd be very good. And then last but not least is part of the Shaman rework where they're reworking the hero power. So here's the new Strength Totem that's replacing spell damage. They're also kind of making some Shaman staples that are returning to the core set kind of better or more consistent as part of their efforts to rework how Overload is formatted on cards. So Feral Spirit, 3-mana, 2/3 Wolves with Taunt instead of overloading 2, and now overloads 1. Would I pay 3 mana for a 4/6 set of Taunts with overload 1? If I'm playing Tunnel Trog in an aggro deck, yeah, maybe. I totally would. Lightning Storm, 3 mana, deal 3 to all enemy minions instead of overload 2. The RNG on Lightning Storm is gone, thank God. This is a Zeph buff. And I would say an Odd Shaman buff, but Odd Shaman F's in the chat. And then Earth Ellie, 5 mana, 7/8, overload 2. So actually, outside of Zeph, like being a buff off of Zeph, this is actually kind of a nerf, because Earth Elemental overloading 3 was actually super important for the Spellstone, like shenanigans that you could do in Shaman. Overloading 2, it doesn't cleanly upgrade the Spellstone. So while this might see play in Standard, it's probably not seeing play anywhere now, even in meme decks in Wild. So rest in peace, Earth Elemental. But yeah, so those are all of the changes for the core set. Lots of exciting news, lots of exciting new cards. Yeah, and they're bringing back 29 new cards. We saw how many today? 8. We saw 8 out of the 29 new cards today. And I'll be doing card review videos and all that kind of good stuff for all the new ones moving forward. And we should know all of the new cards by the end of this next week. That's card reveal season for the core set is starting soon. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm a big fan of the core set. Maybe not as big of a fan as Kibler. But I am a fan of the core set and all the things that they're doing, right? Including new cards and buffs and all that kind of good stuff.